Mental Health Week and Children's Mental Health Week encourages a more open dialogue about mental illness and addiction in our country. And it's good, Mr. Speaker, that we are starting to break down the stigma associated with mental illness. For far too long, mental health issues have been ignored, misunderstood, and even criminalized. As former Guelph Police Chief Jeff DeRuyter is often quoted as saying, "We cannot arrest our way out of the mental health and addictions crisis." He's right. Mental health is health. Mental health is not a criminal issue. The Centre for Addiction and Mental Health says that mental health is health. 1 in 5 Canadians experiences a mental health illness or problem every year, but all 5 of 5 Canadians experience mental health, just like we experience physical health. According to CMHA, there are 6 common features of good mental health: a sense of self, a sense of purpose, a belonging, contribution, enjoyment, and resilience. As Helen Fishburne, the Executive Director of CMHA, says, simply put, a state of well-being. So what is mental health? Simply put, a state of well-being, and we all have it. We might have a mental illness, we might not. Either way, we can all feel well. We can all feel good about ourselves, whatever life's up and downs. And so this year's slogan is Get Loud. And I want to talk about one of my constituents who has gotten loud in the last few years. Guelph High School student Noah Irvine has written hundreds of letters to politicians all across Canada. As a matter of fact, he's even met with the Prime Minister about mental health issue. Noah has turned his grief into losing both of his parents to a mental health issue, his mother to suicide and his father to a prescription drug overdose, into a campaign for action on mental health and addictions. And one of the things Noah is asking, and I would like to ask it today on his behalf in the House, is that for MPPs in this House to act on the recommendations from the Select Committee on Mental Health and Addictions, which delivered their final report to this House almost 9 years ago. And one of the many recommendations that have not been acted upon is to consolidate mental health and addictions programs under one umbrella. And so I encourage the government to act on this now and to establish a Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions to deal with the mental health crisis in Ontario. To simplify his ask, Noah has said, if we just followed up on this one recommendation, he believes the other recommendations will be acted upon and implemented because there will be a minister and a ministry to be held accountable on mental health issues. And so recently I asked Noah if he would like to be on a roundtable advising my office on mental health and addiction issues. And he came to me and he met with me and he said, "Mike, I'm retiring. I'm retiring from my advocacy because I'm going to university next year and I have to focus on my studies. But the one thing I would ask of you and of all MPPs is to carry on my campaign. Carry on my campaign for me and my parents and all the thousands of people suffering from mental health and addiction issues." So, Mr. Speaker, there are 12,000 young people currently on a waiting list right now to access services. And last spring, I ran into one of those young people while I was campaigning in Guelph, and I asked him how he was doing. And he said to me, "I'm doing okay today, but I'd be better if 8 months ago I'd received the call from the suicide watch that I needed that day. And finally, 8 months later, I received that call." That's 8 months too long, Mr. Speaker. Nobody in our province should have to wait that long to receive accessible and affordable access to mental health services. And so I'm hoping that during this week we can all agree across party lines that we need to act on the mental health and addictions crisis in Ontario. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.